Poštovane kolegice i kolege, ja predlažem da mi počnemo. Kada nam se pridruže, onda ostali ćemo, i onako u drugom dijelu sastanka imamo stvari koje trebamo odrađivati sa kvorumom. Znači, otvorio bih 43. sjednicu Odbora za europske poslove, pozdravio bi članice i članove odbora, kao i sve nazočne videokonferencijskim putem. Pozdravio bi veleposlanika Češke republike u Republici Hrvatskoj gospodina Milana Hovorku i zahvalio mu na odazivu na sjednicu. U nastavku sjednice će nam se pridružiti i državni tajnik u Središnjem državnom uredu za razvoj već je tu. Ok, onda ćete malo poslušati. Gospodin Bernard Gršić. Samo nekoliko tehničkih napomena prije nego što pređemo na dnevni red. Naime, zbog održavanja programa obilježavanja Dana sjećanja na genocid u Srebrenici nismo mogli koristiti simultano prevođenje za prvu točku predloženog dnevnog reda sjednice, pa ćemo predstavljanje prioriteta češkog predsjedanja Vijećem Europske unije održati na engleskom bez prevođenja. Tu bih vas zamolio za razumijevanje. Ovo je jedini termin koji smo uspjeli naći da odgovara i nama i veleposlaniku. Planirali smo puno unaprijed. Ovo je obilježavanje uskočilo u međuvremenu, tako da evo, molio bih vas za razumijevanje. Napominjem da se sjednica prenosi na YouTube kanalu Hrvatskog sabora. Dakle, ne znam ili imamo kvorum sada. Kad budemo imali kvorum, onda ćemo i formalno usvojiti dnevni red, ali ako se vi slažete, ja bih predložio da krenemo sa prvom točkom, a to je predstavljanje prioriteta češkog predsjedanja. Ok, ne vidim da ima neslaganja. Ako je tako, onda bi prešli na prvu točku. Czechia took over the EU Council presidency a few days ago in the time that we hoped would mark the return to the old normal following the coronavirus pandemic, but unfortunately it turned out to be marked by immense uncertainty surrounding the war in Ukraine. Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, thank you for finding the time in your busy schedule to join us today and discuss Czech presidency priorities. This is in accordance with the tradition we have in the committee, always at the beginning of each presidency to hear the ambassador of the country that is presiding at the moment and to discuss the priorities of the presidency here in the committee. The 6 months that are ahead of you and us are going to be challenging, possibly even defining the future of the European Union, with all the uncertainty, war in Ukraine, destabilization of the entire continent, galloping inflation, and so on. I am certain that Czechia will contribute greatly to the common European future and that your presidency will be a successful one. Of course, in planning your presidency, you couldn't have not foreseen all the challenges that we will be facing, but nevertheless, I'm sure that with the Czechia's long experience in the EU and long experience on the, I would say, international stage, your contribution and your presidency will be invaluable in tackling these issues. Well, without further ado, Mr. Ambassador, you have the floor. And please use the mics.
Dobar dan, gospodine predsjedniče, članovi Odbora za europske poslove Hrvatskog sabora. Dopustite da početkom kažem nekoliko riječi na hrvatskom jeziku kako bih iskazao svoje poštovanje prema zemlji, moram reći prijateljskoj zemlji u kojoj imam čast predstavljati Češku. Želim vama, gospodine predsjedniče, dragi prijatelju, mogu li na ljubeznom pozivu i članovima na interesu za susret s veleposlanikom zemlje koje trenutno predsjeda Vijećem Europske unije. Moram reći da sam ovdje danas s vama, bez obzira na to što u Češkoj danas nije radni dan, tak jak 6. srpnja slavimo spomen na spaljivanje propovjednika i reformatora Jana Husa, koje se dogodilo 1415. godine. I mogu li, ja moram također reći da sam ovdje s vama bez obzira na veliki posao u vezi s koncertima Moravske filharmonije Olomouc, koje organiziramo 7. i 8. srpnja u Zagrebu i Daruvaru povodom početka češkog predsjedanja Vijećem Europske unije i 100. godišnjine Saveza Čeha u Hrvatskoj. Gospodine predsjedniče, dragi kolegi, koliko god se trudim, kako vi vidite, govoriti hrvatski, ipak bih volio da današnju raspravu možemo voditi na engleskom, na čemu vam puno zahvaljujem. So if it is acceptable, and I understand, eventual difficulties, because I understand we don't have a translation, but if there is anything, I will once again try my hands in English, in Croatian. And definitely to once again express my gratitude to you, Mr. Chairman, for inviting me, and the interest of the members of this very important committee to meet the ambassador of the Czech Republic. I would like to start by assuring you that the Czech Republic is approaching the historically second presidency. The first took place in the first half of 2009. At the time I was in Prague, serving as a Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade. And we approach this presidency with the pride, confidence and ambition, while being fully aware of the complexity of the moment in which we are taking over the reins from France. And talking about France, Mr. Chairman, I would like to use also this opportunity to express our sincerest gratitude for all France has done over the last 6 months. And we all know what this context is about. You alluded to it, Mr. Chairman. It is about the unprovoked Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. And the imperative for the European Union to react quickly, effectively, and in a unanimity, which I believe is very, very important in these trying times. I have to be open to tell you that we did have a pretty right idea of what the Czech presidency priorities could or eventually should look like. However, despite the fact that we had been working hard with the 2 other members of the current trio, France and Sweden, to prepare and hammer out an ambitious 18 months trio program building on a strategic action plan 2019-24, issues that are being currently debated at the European Union level, including definitely 2022 Commission work program. We had to recalibrate original thoughts. At the time when we were preparing the trio program, the major challenge was the European Union post-pandemic recovery. However, the Russian invasion and its unprecedented against the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine have, as I mentioned, brought the necessity of a fundamental reassessment of the EU priorities and influence the final phase of preparations of the Czech presidency. Now, the focus of the priorities, as they were announced by Prime Minister Petr Fiala on June 15, 2022, and are now being discussed in the European Parliament. It's a very nice coincidence. These priorities now focus on security issues and the right policy mix to counter the consequences of the Russian aggression, while carrying on the long-term objectives of the green and digital transformation. Our political priorities are divided into 5 cross-sectoral flagship areas. The first, obviously, is Ukraine, and the need to manage properly the refugee crisis and to pave the way for the post-war recovery of Ukraine. And here the objective is to help Ukraine in its fight for sovereignty and its European choice to become a member of the European Union. And when talking about the assistance, we do have in mind all available dimensions, be it economic, military, social, humanitarian, not to forget about the strengthening of sanctions. Definitely, we have to deal with the very difficult situation when millions of Ukrainians had to leave the country to escape the terror of the Russian aggression. And I believe here it's very important that we show European solidarity, efficiency, and flexibility to be able to manage the crisis of such an unprecedented scale. Just to inform you that regarding the Czech Republic, we were keen and proud to provide shelter to more than 350,000 refugees. Some of them have left and returned back home, but most, around 200,000, had no other choice but to stay. And we have done tremendous efforts, as Croatia has done, to integrate these people with the labor market, to ensure access to the healthcare system, and definitely allow children to have an access to world-class skill. We definitely welcome a decision taken by leaders recently to grant the status of observer to Ukraine. We believe that it is not just a symbolic gesture, it is very, I believe, very important moment and signal we are sending, and I believe that it will also serve as an important motivator for Ukraine to take the reform agenda forward, to be able to meet all requirements set to become the member of the European Union. And I already mentioned definitely the need to pave the way for the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine, and here we do have in mind the reconstruction of critical infrastructure, provision of basic services, strengthening of reliance, and definitely assistance to be provided by internally displaced persons and the returnees back to Ukraine. The second policy priority has to do with energy security. And here we believe that the key and most pressing objective is to reduce our dependency on authoritarian regimes and countries like Russia that directly threaten the EU security. And the other side of the same coin is the need to diversify resources and transport routes. And this is what the Republic package is about, and definitely we will do our utmost to take it as far as we can. But at the same time, talking about green transition, we believe that we have also to be instrumental in taking measures to mitigate the negative social and economic impacts of high energy prices. Beyond of that, Czechia will moderate debates around advancing legislative steps for the climate plan Fit for 55, and we will also deal with the role of nuclear energy in assuring the EU's energy security and meeting the EU's climate goals. The third priority of the Czech presidency is reinforcement of European defense capacities, including cybersecurity. Here the objective is to promote security and defense cooperation with NATO, decrease technological dependency, and support better intra-EU cooperation, including strengthening the EU industrial capacities in strategic areas. And definitely the strategic compass adopted only recently, and we will definitely be taking care of its implementation in a wide range of issues, including those related to hybrid threats, disinformation, or cyber security. The fourth priority area of the Czech presidency is the strategic resilience of the EU economy. Here we would like to focus on the fragility of global supply chains, disruption of commodity markets, and strategic resilience through targeted support for technological competencies based on in-house production capacities. And you know that we have always been very vocal about the internal market. We have always been doing our utmost to get rid of all the remaining barriers preventing us to benefit fully from the four liberties, and we will definitely be taking that very important part of the ongoing agenda of the EU forward, and in particular in areas like digital services and digital economy. And at the same time, I have to add that our objective would be to restore, if it is the proper term, our efforts to take the ongoing negotiations on free trade and investment protection forward, in particular with so-called like-minded countries like Australia, New Zealand, and Chile. Final, the fifth priority is about democratic institutions, which play a very critical role in our societies and have a decisive impact on safeguarding the values of democracy and the rule of law. Here we would like to enhance their resilience, deal with issues like transparency of financing of political parties, independence of mass media, advocacy of European values, freedoms and human rights, both in online and offline environment, and definitely very important open dialogue with society. And this is what the Conference on Future of Europe has been about. And we will be working hard hand in hand with member states and the institutions with a view to ensuring proper follow-up to the conference. If I do have still, he has left, if I do have still a few minutes, I will comment very briefly on certain priorities in the area of external relations. Here I would like to mention three concepts. One, which is strong Europe. Definitely will portray the European Union as a global player, reliable transatlantic ally, and a key partner for effective multilateral solution. The second, resilient Europe. I mean the European Union, which is resilient by design, by both external and internal threats, including hybrid warfare and terrorism. And the third, equally very important concept of sustainable Europe, where we believe the Europe has to continue playing its leading role in the area of climate change. And definitely we are mindful of the need to work with our developing countries, partners. And the Czech presidency is going to be very much a value-based presidency. And we will be focusing our attention also on issues related to human rights. And this is also why we proposed the candidacy, which was accepted to replace Russia in the Human Rights Commission. And I have to extend my gratitude for Croatia for its very, very active support. Geographical focus of our external affairs priorities, definitely Ukraine, Eastern Partnership, and I believe no one will be surprised if I add to that also Western Balkan. The Western Balkan countries have traditionally been one of the key foreign affairs priority of the Czech Republic, and we will definitely do our utmost to take the enlargement agenda forward while keeping in mind the complexity of the process. Talking about geographical priorities, I have to add two more. One is Indo-Pacific. I believe very important to implement the recently adopted EU strategy on Indo-Pacific. One even has already taken place in Prague, and definitely here the objective is to enhance strategic engagement of the European Union, and the same goes for the Sahel, which is yet another geographical priority of our presidency. The motto, I should have mentioned it at the very beginning. The motto of the Czech presidency is Europe as a task, rethink, rebuild, recover. It is a kind of legacy of Václav Havel's call for reflection on the role of the European Union in substantially changed geopolitical situation after the changes in our part of the world. The motto is a reminder that Europe is a matter of constant work for all citizens, and that issues I talk about like security, climate, economic and social challenges, high energy prices, respect for human rights, involve us all and can only delve a bit by working together. So to conclude, once again, let me assure that we believe that we know the issues that are on the table. We are well aware of the role of the country standing at the helm of the European Union, and I will be repeating myself that we will be carrying out our presidency in the interest of all citizens of the European Union. So I will maybe bring this introduction to an end, and I would be more than happy to respond to any question you may have, but I would be equally happy to hear your comments, not only regarding the priorities of the Czech presidency, but more generally regarding the situation and challenges we all face. So once again, thank you so much for listening to me, and once again, I am keen to have a kind of interactive debate, and I'm looking forward to having it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I had to excuse the chair. He had to step out, but he asked me to steer through debate while his absence. He will return, of course, for the conclusion of the debate. First, I would like to congratulate you,
Thank you so much.
for the presidency and for this nice explanation of your priorities. I would also like to thank our French colleagues who finished successful presidency with all the challenges that they have. Now I would like to open debate and floor for the colleagues to comment on the priorities and also ask questions. Mr. Ivo Davostir.
Thank you, Chair, and let me thank the Ambassador for his presentation of the priorities of the Czech presidency of the European Union. I will have two questions. One is, after you mentioned the importance of the EU candidacy status for Ukraine. I happened to have the opportunity to be in Kyiv last week, and can mention how important that was for them, as not just as a political signal, but also as a very concrete demonstration that they will be part of the West in a geopolitical meaning of that, and that in itself is, as I think you mentioned, an answer to this concept of the Russian world. Yeah. But one of the aspects and one of the key responses of the European Union and the West was to show unanimity, to be homogeneous in responding to the Russian aggression. On the other side, Moscow was, and it continues to work in trying to see whether it can divide members of the European Union and allies in the West. Energy, which is your second priority, in this sense is of has a key importance. And as pressure will probably increase from societies because of the prices of energy and the whole question, will probably have to have some common approaches. And in this regard, I would like to ask you if you could elaborate a little bit further how to keep the unity of the European Union also in this regard. Many ideas have been floated also how to deal with the energy situation. And the second is about the enlargement. Any further thoughts about what could be some concrete steps when it comes to the Western Balkans? We know about the situation for North Macedonia and Albania, but where are your thoughts, and if you could elaborate a little bit further about that? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stier. Mr. Ambassador, if you agree, we will collect all the reactions and questions, and then at the end you can reply. Mr. Pavic, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I would first like to comment from the last part of your presentation that you are value-based presidency. I think with COVID and with war in Ukraine, we saw that foremost we are union of values rather than everything else, and that this whole crisis brought us back together more in union, and the priorities that you presented reflect the current status of unfortunate and unprovoked war, and also the fight with the COVID crisis. Croatia had experience with the COVID presidency. Now we have the Ukrainian crisis where we show all of our solidarity. Croatia is only EU country that still remembers war. We still remember 500,000 refugees. So we have sympathy with all the member states that are bordering to Eastern Partnership that took more refugees with them, and we also contribute that in care package. Croatia added on our initiative that all Ukrainian refugees will be able to participate in all EU social programs that are currently going on. Second, the reflection of all of this crisis is the energy crisis, inflation crisis. I congratulate that you were bold enough to put on paper such diversification, that you put strength onto also on hydrogen, but also nuclear power. Croatia is one of the 10 countries that joined with Czech Republic signed the letter to the Commission to change taxonomy for the nuclear power, but also that we need to do everything we can to repower EU really work. During your presidency, we expect that we cut the dependence on Russian oil and gas by 2/3 by the end of the year, and we need to include all of the solutions that we have. So congratulations on the boldness, and also bring up resilience of European economy. Your fourth priority was on the resilience of European economy, value change. We saw that in the crisis. I would like to point out also IPCEI projects that also bring us together, projects of important common interest. For instance, hydrogen, battery alliance, and all of the, especially with food, that we saw in the in the last several crises, importance of having all the value chains in the EU, especially now with the gas and oil. Finally, I would like to comment also resilience on democratic institutions. I think it's very important to protect our institutions. They are something that we built that we took a long time to build and invest lots of money and efforts. So I would like to congratulate also on that priority. As colleague Stier stated, Western Balkans is one of the Croatian's foreign priorities for the first countries. French presidency stated that they will pass to you the conference on Western Balkans. Is it still in priorities and in the events? And for Croatian side, for us personally, it's important of Croatian entering Schengen. We have the support and we expect next week to get final conclusion of the Eurozone. And we also expect to become Schengen states from the 1st of January. So will you as a presidency country support our claim and see development of Schengen in that area? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pavic. Any other requests for the floor? Madame Petir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Excellency, for presentation. In context of Ukraine crisis, I would like to ask you maybe a little more in detail if you could explain how Czech presidency look on the field of agriculture and food supply chains, because we see all this situation as a huge problem for European farmers, but also for our citizens who need to have enough food, and this food should be on the market, present on the market with affordable prices. So maybe if you have information about priorities of Czech presidency in the field of agriculture, I will really appreciate to hear more about this.
Thank you, Madame Petir. Madame Petir also chairs the Committee on Agriculture, so the question is hardly surprising. Any other requests? If there are none, then please, before I give you the floor, allow me just a few comments. I will focus on the 4 points you mentioned. The first one is enlargement. Fortunately, some of the enlargement issues that you've stated in the program of the presidency has already been fulfilled, and that is that Ukraine has a candidacy status. As I understand, in a week's time, actually in a few days, the COSAC of the chairpersons shall be meeting, and this will be the first time that the Ukrainian and Moldovan delegation will be present. My question with regard to the process: how will the Czech presidency facilitate, now that Ukraine and Moldova have the candidacy status, what would be the first steps on their way towards the Union? Of course, Ukraine's situation is rather complicated since they are country at war, but Moldova maybe has a better situation, and also there is a question of Georgia that also put forward their bid to join the EU. Unfortunately, they were left a bit outside, although the clear perspective for their membership is also left open. So I would appreciate your comments on that from the perspective of the Czech presidency. Energy security, of course, is an extremely important topic that will probably dominate not only Czech presidency but also presidencies to come. From the Czech perspective, I would like to hear from you which measures should be implemented without delay if we are to secure the energy security of the continent. So, which alternatives, routes of delivery of the resources should be proposed, which assets should be developed. So what do you see as a priority in the next 6 months to ensure the energy security? Of course, I concur with what my colleague Pavic said about the nuclear energy. Nuclear energy actually is the safest and cleanest energy, but if we take care of the nuclear waste. So this is one of the concerns we have. Finally, something that you also underlined in your presentation, that is resilience of democratic institutions. This is also very important if we take into account that whether we wish to admit it or not, our continent is at war. A part of it is in conventional war, the other part is in informational war, IT war, I don't know what to call it. Some people would call it hybrid war. So from the Czech perspective and from the Czech experience, what should the Union do in the next 6 months to minimize the negative influences on our institutions and also on disinformation of our citizens? And finally, the Western Balkans. I know that the Czech Republic has been supportive of the enlargement, but this is not enough, especially if we take into account that many countries that have been on the European way for a long time in this region are a bit disappointed that Ukraine got the candidacy status so easily and quickly. And they are still in the waiting room, so to say, although requirements are mostly met by the countries in question. In other words, there is a big question of the Bulgarian veto against Northern Macedonia. So I would like to hear what the Czech presidency and how the Czech presidency will try to facilitate the resolution to this problem. That's it from me. Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
For all these questions, and definitely I will try to respond as much as I can. First, the enlargement process. And I believe you're absolutely right, Mr. Chairman, that Czechia has always been one of the most fervent supporters of the enlargement of the European Union. And still we believe that we are ideally positioned to get the message across. And the message is that it is worth of effort to pursue all the reforms. We have gone through all that, not because of any other country wish, but because we believed that it is equally good for us. And I should say not equally, that it is primarily good for us. And when generating public support for our accession to the European Union, we have not been just talking about the commitments, but we have also been talking about the benefits arising from being part of the EU family. And I believe that we do have now a unique situation when we do have two more countries having received the status of a candidate, Ukraine and Moldova. Georgia has to proceed with certain important reform steps. And Bosnia and Herzegovina, the results of the Council last month, as we read it, it is for the first time when we have very clear perspective of the steps to be taken. And there is a clear reference to the task given to the Commission to present the report without any delay. And definitely we will be following the process and hopefully, based on the report by the Commission, we will be able to make the next step. And I tell you, you mentioned frustrations. I think that you even alluded to disappointment. For us, the Czech Republic, it is not either or. It is not either or. For us, it is to have with us all countries which have declared their genuine commitment to become member of the European Union. And clearly we see the future of these countries, be it the Western Balkans and countries of Eastern Europe. We see their place inside the European Union by agreeing on a candidate status for Ukraine. We are not lowering the accession bar. What we are saying is that Ukraine will have to proceed with all the needed reforms to promote judiciary, rule of law, and the effective work of democratic institutions. But at the same time, what we are saying is that we are ready to help Ukraine and the other countries in this process. And being ambassador here, I'm definitely following closely all the debates regarding your direct neighborhood. And I believe that the Czech presidency, we can understand the complexity of the issues. We can also understand all the challenges arising from the fact that the two countries, I mean North Macedonia and Albania, have been waiting for long, while at the same time keeping all or meeting all criteria and conditions we set to launch accession negotiations. And these are definitely issues we believe we will be able to take forward. Definitely reconciliation process in the region. Again, this is an area we believe the Czech presidency can do a lot of work based also on our own experience. And then definitely we may have issues like visa liberalization for Kosovo. And I believe that we also have to strengthen our cooperation in the area of trade, investment, and regional cooperation in various sectors, including infrastructure, green transition. So this is what the enlargement related issues are about. Energy. And I would say here I can't agree more with what you said regarding the need to preserve the unity of the European Union. And the President Putin definitely, he has been applying a divisive policy, but he got the reply. And the reply is that despite tremendous difficulties we all face, we have been able to take quite unprecedented decisions to bring down or even diminish dependency on Russia's natural gas and oil. It's not going, it's not possible to be done overnight, but I believe the most important is that we all, definitely including the Czech Republic, we are united and we are determined to proceed vigorously. I would say that definitely talking about diversification, we have to sit together and look what are the possibilities. For example, Croatia. Croatia has done a lot to take care not only of its current and future energy needs, but it has been showing the interest to expand the existing terminal in Kirk. And it has been equally signaling the readiness to consider the possibility of enhancing the capacity of existing pipeline run by Janaf. And I am told that this may not necessarily require any major investment, that maybe certain technical measures could be injected to be able to enhance the capacity quite dramatically and to serve eventually more countries than the direct neighborhood of Croatia. I mean Slovenia, Hungary, Slovakia on one side, Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina in the other. And I believe that this is also going to be one of the subjects of the two prime ministers' conversation. As you know, Prime Minister Plenković is traveling to Prague tomorrow to meet his Czech counterpart, Peter Fiala, and I'll be privileged to be in the room and take note of all the ideas and suggestions arising from the two leaders' conversations. And then definitely we have to combine different kind of approaches. Again, talking about that pressing challenge to deal with the consequences of the crisis, high energy prices, and at the same time, and it is very important, we have to prepare for the incoming winter. And definitely we do have some sort of solutions, we can call them quick fix, but at the same time we have to opt for long-term solutions. And this is what the Czech government has been doing in acquiring stakes in the energy terminal in the Netherlands to be part of the expanded pipeline. But you are absolutely right. It is also about other sources, alternative sources. We still believe stable sources of power generation. And I fully agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that talking about the nuclear, we have to take care of all phases of the value chain. It is not just about the building creation. We have to think what to do with the nuclear waste. And definitely, security-related issues are of paramount importance. And I have to say that they have always been very high on the agenda in the Czech Republic, and this is also why we have been able to generate very high public support for the nuclear energy. And we will be building yet another block on the current site of Dukovany. And again, to see, and I believe you will appreciate the approach we have been taken even before the Russian aggression of Ukraine we took a bold decision not to allow 2 countries to participate in the tender that has been announced. And these 2 countries are Russia and China. And we did it for security reasons. Schengen. I have to congratulate Croatia for fulfilling all requirements, definitely for receiving a visa liberalization status by the United States. We have been following closely recent developments. France has made a tremendous job to take your case forward. Now, I believe the Parliament will have to come back with its opinion. And again, our expectation would be that it's going to be a positive opinion, but still we would need to have unanimity at the end of the day. And definitely, and again, this is our style, the way we organize ourselves. Maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago, I did have in town a Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs responsible for Schengen-related issues to give him opportunity to have an interaction with his counterpart here. And again, the objective was to understand where the issues are so that we can talk to member states with the view to narrowing down any eventually gaps and bringing everyone on board. And we are well aware that the objective is to become a full-fledged member of the Schengen area as of 1st January 2023. Mr. Chairman, could you remind me of some other issues, questions raised by members of the committee?
There were some questions about the resilience of the institutions, fighting the disinformation, the hybrid war.
Yes.
Enlargement, you covered more, and energy security as well. Ukraine and Moldova, what will be the first steps in their coming closer to the European Union?
And I think that there was also the question related to food security. I will take first food security, because quite often we tend to place much emphasis on energy and energy-related issues, but food security is clearly one of the major challenges we face. And if I say we, I don't have in mind just us here in Europe. I do have definitely in mind developing countries which can suffer a lot if we are not able to ensure that there will be transport routes to allow deliveries of commodities that have been usually or in the past provided by Ukraine. So I believe that definitely solidarity lane is of paramount importance, and definitely we have to take all necessary actions, and we are quite bold. The Commission has presented a package of measures, including financial support to help developing countries deal with this issue. But at the same time, and I think it's very important that we have also to deal with the political narrative of the issue, when the Russian propaganda tends to blame us for that crisis, saying that it is because of our sanctions, because of what we have been doing to support Ukraine, not allowing Ukraine to negotiate what they say constructively with a view to arriving at a mutual acceptable solution. So this is definitely an issue. We all are confronted with excessively high inflation, definitely covering also agriculture and food processing products. In the Czech Republic, the current level of inflation is around 15%. In Croatia, it is less, but I am afraid that we have not yet seen the end of the tunnel, and that the prices, including agriculture prices or agriculture item prices, have still the potential to grow. On resilience of democratic institutions, I believe I talked about certain areas, including fight against hybrid threats. I think it is important that we also look at the resilience of European institutions, what we can do to ensure a free flow of information. And then definitely I believe it is also important that we work hand in hand with like-minded countries with a view to dealing with that narrative I talked about a minute ago. And Ukraine and Moldova, you see that there is a complex of measures we would like to see. The first, we will be having the Gymnich meeting, and we believe that the Gymnich, that in Prague, by the time of the Gymnich meeting on August 30th and 31st, we will have opportunity to focus. We will have the opportunity to focus on the situation in Ukraine, and we would like also to organize yet one more event by the time of the Gymnich meeting, which is a high-level forum allowing us to consider the steps and measures to be taken by the European Union and our partners to help the country. Then definitely talking about the conference of Western Balkan Summit, we know the sequence of events. First, it was intended to be a conference. Finally, France organized a high-level event, dialogue with leaders of the Western Balkan. And now we have the idea of European political community, and I believe that there is an agreement that the President of the Council, in conjunction with the Czech presidency, we will be organizing informal meeting of the European Council, and the objective of that meeting also would be to have with us leaders and heads of states from other countries in Europe, and I believe that this is a good opportunity also to discuss certain issues which are of interest to all of us. but at the same time, when mentioning this, and it has always been the position of the Czech Republic, and I believe that this is also the way it has been agreed by the leaders, these processes should not substitute for the standard processes and instruments like the enlargement process.
I think you covered most of the questions.
Have I?
I think you have. Maybe the colleagues, somebody would want to ask another question or comment, or maybe reflect on something that was not mentioned by the Mr. Ambassador.
And we can definitely come back maybe with more details in the future. If interested, we can eventually have a sector-wise discussion. If interested, I'll be more than happy eventually to invite also those who are experts on certain specific issues. And definitely it would also be my understanding that you will also have the opportunity to interact with your Czech counterparts. And while it's going to be quite a hectic period ahead, I am told that around 2,000 meetings at ambassador level, working meetings to be organized in Brussels. Czech ministers will chair around 40 meetings organized in the Czech Republic. So this is what I am offering you. To the extent you are interested, I'll be more than happy to come back anytime and be ready to continue. And definitely it would be fine, Mr. Chairman, and again I don't want to make any formal suggestion, to have a kind of another meeting, if not in between, sometimes in the middle of the Czech presidency, to see how far we have progressed, to what extent the Czech ambassador has been talking about here, to what extent we have been able to progress, and to what extent we have been able to meet consistency between our words and actions. So this is what I am offering to you, Mr. Chairman, and while not necessarily having the ambition to have a final word.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Especially thank you for your willingness to invite us into debate about the subject. Are there any other requests for the floor? If not, then I sincerely thank you. I do encourage other colleagues that may have some specific questions or some specific fields of interest to contact the Secretariat of the committee, so we can forward these requests to you, so maybe you can follow up on with individual members on the specific topics we were not able to cover in detail today. I may myself even have some questions, but the procedure with the COSAC meetings is exactly the same as you proposed. So the meeting we will have in a few days' time is about the presentation and the discussion about the priorities, and the so-called big COSAC, so the meeting of the delegation from the national parliaments, is exactly that evaluation of how much was achieved and what still remains to be done. In any case, Mr. Ambassador, I wish to thank you for your time and willingness to discuss the priorities. I'm sure there will be other opportunities, specific events to which members of the committee and of the Parliament shall be invited, and we look forward to working with you during your presidency. Děkuji mnohokrát.
Super.
This is unfortunately my...
Taky děkujeme. And definitely needless to say that I could have elaborated a bit more on certain elements or questions you raised, including that one regarding the resilience of institutions. We have been working hard with Sweden and to proceed with certain implementations. So probably I may be able to also send you the presentation, allowing steps we would like to have or would like to take in this particular area. And Mr. Chairman and friends, definitely let us, I will be definitely leaving my contact points. This is not, this has to, we do have various options to talk to each other. I believe that the Chairman can confirm that we do have relatively intensive communication challenge. I'm always ready to respond to any questions you may have. If there is anything you believe escapes our attention, you would like to draw our attention to any particular element, please feel free to do that, and I will definitely be more than happy and willing to come back as soon as I can. Taky děkuji, zahvalujeme na pažnju i zahvaljujem na pažnju i vidimo se. Raduju se da s nekimi iz vas ću se vidjeti sutra povodom koncerta. To je velika stvar, a znate, 70 umjetnika koji ću doći iz Češke, ali je htjelo sme imati taki veliki događaj da ja tak mislim da predsjedništvo u Europske unije to je jedan put za 13. i 14. godina. 100. godišnjina Saveza Čeha u Hrvatskoj, no znate, to je, a ja bih se htio zamoliti da sve što radi Hrvatska i da bi pomogla nacionalnim manjinama, to nije već češka manjina, a znate kak je češki veleposlanik, ja sam u kontaktu s našimi prijateljami češka manjina, oni su u Daruvaru, Bjelovaru, drugimi građanima, ja tak znam da to nije već pomoć centralne vlade, ali to su županije i općine, gradovi i to je sjajna suradnja koju mi imamo. Ja tak bi sam rekao da ta suradnja to je budućnost Europe, a to je mislim samo važno da bismo imali Europu u kojoj možemo razvijati međuosobne kontakte. A mi smo danas razgovarali o energiji, o drugih važnih stvarah, a nimali smo vrijeme da bismo razgovarali o tom, to što je samo važno, o dijalogu, a i međuosobnim odnosama i o kulture. Zahvaljujem gospodine predsjedniče i članovi odbora.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. The Czech minority in Croatia is among the most well organized ones. The Czech ambassador, as you said, and the organization of the Czech minority now has 100 years celebration, so I'm looking forward to that as well tomorrow, but looking forward to working with you on your presidency.
Thank you so much. Take care, stay safe.
Thank you very much.
And once again, thank you so much for inviting me today. Thank you so much.
Hvala veleposlaniku. Ja predlažem kratku pauzu od minute dok veleposlanik nas napusti, pa ćemo mi nastaviti sa našim radom. Ostanemo ovdje. Ne, ostanemo. Idemo odmah dalje. Hvala lijepo. Mi nastavljamo sa našim radom. Budući da su se međuvremeno stekli uvjeti, odnosno da imamo kvorum, pozvao bih prvo kolegice i kolege da kažu imaju li nekih primjedbi na zapisnik sa prošle sjednice. Ako nema, konstatiram da smo zapisnik usvojili. Također dnevni red, znači kako je predložen u pozivu, imali primjedbi na dnevni red. Ako nema, konstatiram da smo ga usvojili. Prvu točku smo iscrpili. Druga točka nam je stajalište Republike Hrvatske u uspostavi programa Put u digitalno desetljeće. Dakle, nakon predstavljanja prioriteta češkog predsjedanja nastavljamo radom sa spomenutim izvješćem. Stajalište o navedenom prijedlogu je Koordinacija za unutarnju i vanjsku politiku Vlade usvojila 30. studenog prošle godine, dostavila ga Hrvatskom saboru, a naš odbor ga je 7. prosinca proslijedio Odboru za gospodarstvo i Odboru za obrazovanje, znanost, kulturu te Odboru za regionalni razvoj i fondove EU. Odbor za gospodarstvo i Odbor za regionalni razvoj i fondove EU mišljenjima su podržali stajalište Republike Hrvatske. S obzirom da je riječ o starijem stajalištu, a sam dokument je u visokoj fazi usvajanja u Europskom parlamentu, državnog tajnika bih molio prije svega da nam predstavi eventualne promjene do kojih je došlo od usvajanja inicijalnih stajališta. Gospodine Gršić, imate riječ.
Hvala lijepo, poštovani predsjedniče i članovi odbora.
Dakle, Europska komisija objavila 9. ožujka 2021. godine komunikaciju naziva Digitalni kompas 2030, europski pristup za digitalno desetljeće, koja predstavlja viziju, ciljeve i puteve do uspješne digitalne transformacije Europe do 2030. godine, koja je ključna i za prelazak na klimatski neutralno, kružno i otporno gospodarstvo. Ambicija je Europske unije da bude digitalno suverena u otvorenom i međusobno povezanom svijetu, te da provodi politike u području digitalnih tehnologija koje građanima i poduzećima omogućavaju da iskoriste održivu i prosperitetniju digitalnu budućnost u kojoj je na prvom mjestu čovjek. To podrazumijeva uklanjanje nedostataka i ovisnosti te ubrzanje ulaganja u digitalni sektor. Put u digitalno desetljeće oslanja se na digitalni kompas i njegova 4 područja: digitalne vještine, digitalna infrastruktura, digitalno poslovanje i digitalne javne usluge. U sklopu prijedloga odluke predlažu se opći digitalni ciljevi na temelju kojih bi komisija i države članice trebale zacrtati smjerove djelovanja u razdoblju do 2030. godine na razini Unije i na nacionalnoj razini. Komisija predlaže uspostavu godišnjeg mehanizma suradnje s državama članicama koje će se sastojati od strukturiranog, transparentnog i značajnog zajedničkog sustava praćenja u kojem će se napredak u ostvarenju pojedinog cilja do 2030. mjeriti indeksom gospodarske i društvene digitalizacije, takozvanom DESI indeksu, te ključnim pokazateljima uspješnosti godišnjeg izvješća o stanju digitalnog desetljeća u kojem će komisija ocijeniti napredak i dati preporuke za djelovanje. Zatim višegodišnjih nacionalnih strateških planova za digitalno desetljeće po državama članicama u kojima će one ukratko izložiti donesene ili planirane politike i mjere za potporu ostvarenja ciljeva, te strukturiranog godišnjeg okvira u kojem će komisije i države članice na temelju preporuka i zajedničkih obveza djelovati u područjima s nedovoljnim napretkom i raspravljati o njima. I naravno mehanizma za potporu provedbi više državnih projekata. Stajalište Republike Hrvatske, obzirom da se za predmetni sastanak obrazlaže stajalište iz siječnja 2022. godine, potrebno je napomenuti kako je tada bilo izneseno da Republika Hrvatska podržava donošenje ovog teksta i provedbu istoga. Nadalje, Republika Hrvatska podržava koncept djelovanja prema pojedinim ciljevima, praćenju i utvrđivanju postizanja napretka kroz postojeće i buduće mjerene instrumente. U međuvremenu od pisanja predmetnog stajališta dogodilo se da na temelju pisanih podnesaka delegacija francuskog predsjedništva izradila je u siječnju 2022. nacrt prvog kompromisnog prijedloga čiji je cilj preusmjeriti područje primjene i doseg teksta te istodobno poboljšati njegovu čitljivost i pojednostaviti priložene postupke. U veljači 2022. izašao je drugi kompromisni prijedlog francuskog predsjedanja, pri čemu je napravljena intervencija u pogledu godišnjih izvještavanja o stanju digitalnog desetljeća i dvogodišnjem ciklusu. Prijedlog je bio da bude svake godine, znači suradnje između država članica i Europske komisije. Tom je prilikom pojašnjeno i da preporuke ne obvezuju adresate, te da je osigurana snažnija veza s pravnom osnovom. Treći kompromisni prijedlog predstavljen je 31. ožujka 2022. godine, pri čemu je francusko predsjedanje nastojalo isti bolje uskladiti s prijedlogom uredbe o izmjeni uredbe europskog broj 910/2014 u pogledu uspostavljanja okvira za europski digitalni identitet ili takozvano eIDAS uredbe. Uvelo je spominjanje temeljnih prava i prenijelo upućivanje na europsku izjavu o digitalnim pravima i načelima iz operativnog dijela na uvodnu izjavu kako bi se izbjegle sumnje u njezinu neobvezujuću prirodu. Ovdje je Hrvatska imala intervenciju da se usluge mogu koristiti offline, što je na kraju i prihvaćeno. Kako bi se zajamčio brz napredak Europe prema ciljevima digitalnog desetljeća u predloženom okviru za upravljanje predviđen je sustav praćenja napretka koji se temelji na poboljšanom indeksu gospodarske i društvene digitalizacije DESI indeksu i izvješće o stanju digitalnog desetljeća. Europska komisija bi najprije zajedno s državama članicama zacrtala smjer djelovanja Europske unije prema pojedinom cilju, a države članice bi zatim predložile nacionalne strateške planove za njihove postizanje. Francusko predsjedanje je na zadnjem sastanku 31. ožujka 2022. navelo
kako se radi o trećem kompromisnom tekstu koji se dalje upućuje prema Koreperu. Nakon toga je pokrenuta inicijativa gdje je Hrvatska bila dio te inicijative za brisanje članka 9 u kojemu se navodilo kako će države članice morati prilagoditi svoje nacionalne strateške planove sa putom u digitalno desetljeće u roku 3 do 5 mjeseci od usvajanja ovog prijedloga, te se u ovom članku davala mogućnost izricanja sankcija. Obzirom da se Hrvatska nacionalna strategija izrađuje više mjeseci i zahtjeva konsenzus većeg broja tijela, Hrvatska se pridružila ovoj inicijativi, što je na kraju i rezultiralo brisanje tog članka 9. Na Koreperu se raspravljalo o alternativnim mogućnostima predloženima u novoj formulaciji članka 4, stavka 1, 4 podtočke C u pogledu elektroničke identifikacije, uvodnoj izjavi prvoj i članku 2. točki A dodano je upućivanje na temeljna prava kako bi se dopunila vizija oblikovanja digitalnog okruženja za sve. Konkretno u uvodnoj izjavi sada se spominje i zajednička komunikacija, globalni pristupnik kojom Unija namjerava doprinijeti smanjenju globalnog investicijskog jaza. Koreper je primio na znanje izvješće s trijaloga koji je održan 23. lipnja 2022. Tijekom trijaloga francusko predsjedanje je naglasilo potrebu da države članice zadrže što više fleksibilnosti prilikom izrade nacionalnih strategija, kao i činjenicu da ciljevi nisu obvezujući za države članice, već određeni na europskoj razini, i nadolazeće češko predsjedavanje nastavlja pregovore sa Europskim parlamentom po ovom pitanju.
Hvala lijepo gospodinu državnom tajniku. Otvaram raspravu. Kolega Pavić.
Samo jedno pitanje, vidim u dokumentu da nije bilo jasno utvrđeni izvori financiranja nacionalnih strateških planova. Jesmo to uklopili onda u nacionalni program oporavka i VFO sa zadnjim verzijama ili s obzirom da dobar dio sredstava i jednog i drugog je predviđeno za digitalizaciju, pa onda ja vjerujem da tu ima više nego dovoljno sredstava za financiranje.
Upravo tako, nacionalni plan oporavka i otpornosti, višegodišnji financijski okvir su izvori financiranja za provedbu i digitalne strategije 2030 koja se izrađuje, ali i svih ciljeva za poboljšanje iz nacionalne razvojne strategije da Hrvatska postigne ciljeve koji su zacrtani kroz nacionalnu razvojnu strategiju do 2030. godine.
Hvala lijepo. Kolegica Petir.
Hvala vam predsjedniče. Htjela sam vas pitati vezano uz ovu temu. Kakvi su planovi, odnosno hoće li se realizirati planovi i preporuke Europske komisije koje smo dobili da do 2025. godine uspostavimo širokopojasni brzi internet na području cijele Republike Hrvatske? Znam da je tu bilo određenih poteškoća u komunikaciji sa pojedinim operaterima, no, dakle, to je jedna i od ključnih preporuka Europske komisije na nacionalni strateški plan u okviru poljoprivrede, jer je potpuno jasno da u nekim ruralnim sredinama da bi vodili OPG ili osnovali poduzeće ili bilo što napravili, morate se penjati na stablo da uhvatite vezu.
Evo, hvala na pitanju. Moram reći da je odgovor na to pitanje u stvari u nadležnosti Ministarstva mora, prometa i infrastrukture, jer oni provode širokopojasni pristup, razvoj širokopojasnog pristupa. Mogu reći da znači kroz dosadašnje investicije planirani su programi nacionalni program širokopojasnog pristupa koji se provodi na lokalnoj razini u onim područjima gdje telekomima nije interesantno ulagati, odnosno nemaju komercijalni interes. Tamo uskače država koja financira te programe kroz europske fondove i da je u nacionalnom planu oporavka i otpornosti upravo cijela reforma jedna u podkomponenti jačanje digitalne javne uprave i društva predviđena u iznosu od 950 milijuna kuna razvoj širokopojasnog interneta, isto tako u ruralnim područjima, odnosno područjima gdje ne postoji interes telekoma za komercijalnom uslugom. i isto tako za stvaranje infrastrukture za 5G tamo gdje ne postoji interes za komercijalnih pružatelja usluga. Tu mogu naglasiti da su određena frekvencijska područja već na aukciji prošle godine dodijeljena telekomima, odnosno svima koji su se javili, i da je se prilikom dodjele toga prilično vodila briga o tome da sva područja Republike Hrvatske budu pokrivena 5G signalom.
Hvala gospodine državni tajniče. Ja sam imao isto pitanje za vas, ali kolegica Petir mi ga je uzela. Jer da, internetski pristup, a onda i široki pojasni internet je za ruralno područje izuzetno bitan. Tim više što sve više usluga ne moraju biti fizičke, dakle možete njima pristupiti online, što zapravo na taj način više nije bitno gdje se nalazite, i to daje jedan dodatni poticaj zapravo naseljavanju ruralnog kraja, jer onda imate pristup uslugama koje su inače rezervirane za gradove. No dobro, ima li još možda kolega Fabijanić?
U ovim dokumentima, dakle, Europska unija gleda da pogotovo mala poduzeća dostignu, dakle, digitalizaciju sa uslugom koja je vezana za cloud, dakle da uđu u oblak do njih 75%. Međutim, ovdje je pitanje i ranjivosti, dakle po taj oblak, na koji se oblak misli, da se misli na neki europski oblak ili na neki drugi. Vrlo je bitno, zato je Europska unija išla i sa svojim, recimo, satelitima što se tiče GPS sustava, zato da ne bi ovisila o drugim, ajmo reći tako, svjetskim igračima, odnosno silama, ne. To je jedna stvar, a druga stvar, potaknut baš i raspravom kolegice Petir i kolega Hajdukovića. Dakle, znamo da su telekomi zainteresirani samo za one sredine koji su im visoko profitabilne, zanemarujući dakako onaj dio, dakle, koji im nije komercijalan. Međutim, i to se da riješiti bez da država previše u to ulaže, na način da se jednostavno obveže koncesionara da pokrije određeno područje, jer inače neće dobiti onaj dio područja koji je njima komercijalno interesantan. I onda možemo u tome znatna sredstva, između ostaloga, kao država uštedjeti, pogotovo uzimajući u obzir ono što se i jako dobro vidite, ono što je čista dobit samih naših telekomunikacijskih operatera.
Hvala kolega Fabijanić, želite odgovoriti ili komentirati?
Pa evo, mogu malo prokomentirati samo. Znači, ovdje kad se govori o oblaku, onda se govori o širokom pojmu oblaka. Danas imamo inicijativu na europskoj razini da se stvori i oblak na teritoriju cijele Europske unije, povezujući razne podatkovne centre u raznim državama, i tako da i Europska unija želi odgovoriti na taj izazov i onih izvan Europske unije rješenja koja su nam dostupna.
Mislim da tome trebamo težiti.
Evo, to je sigurno nešto na čemu se radi, a ovo što ste spomenuli, upravo sam rekao da je, znači, kod dodjele 5G spektra vodila se briga upravo da cijelo područje bude pokriveno, i kroz prodaju tih frekvencijskih područja se postiglo da je uvelike i ona područja koja nisu interesantna, da su nametnuta telekomima, da ih trebaju pokriti.
Hvala lijepo gospodinu državnom tajniku. Zatvaram raspravu i predlažem Odboru sljedeće zaključke. Pod 1. Prihvaća se stajalište Republike Hrvatske o prijedlogu odluke Europskog parlamenta i vijeća o uspostavi programa politike do 2030. put u digitalno desetljeće. I pod 2. Obavezuje se Vlada Republike Hrvatske da do donošenja prijedloga odluke u Europskom parlamentu i vijeću Europske unije obavješćuje Hrvatski sabor o značajnim izmjenama sadržaja prijedloga odluke te o izmjenama stajališta Republike Hrvatske o prijedlogu odluke. Tko je za ovakve zaključke? Hvala lijepo. Sa deponiranim glasovima konstatiram da smo sa 9 glasova za, 0 protiv i 0 suzdržanih usvojili predloženi zaključak. Treće je stajalište Republike Hrvatske o uspostavljanju Europskog okvira za digitalni identitet. Mi smo kao odbor 7. prosinca prošle godine proslijedili prvenstveno stajalište Odboru za unutarnju politiku i nacionalnu sigurnost koje je mišljenjem podržao stajalište Republike Hrvatske. Ovo je jednako staro stajalište kao i ono prethodno, ali još i u ranim fazama donošenja u Europskom parlamentu, pa vjerujem da je malo aktualnije i tu ćete nam, gospodine državni tajniče, moći bez ovoga odmaka reći nešto kako napreduje donošenje. Izvolite.
Hvala lijepo. Dakle, osnovna ideja prijedloga izmjene uredbe EIDAS, koja je u stvari temelj današnje identifikacije u Europskoj uniji i naša elektronička osobna iskaznica i naš nacionalni identifikacijski autentifikacijski sustav koji se koristi pri identifikaciji e-građana je upravo usklađen sa EIDAS uredbom. Dakle, ova promjena govori o potrebi, odnosno širenju drugih aspekata identifikacije. U području elektroničke identifikacije, znači stvaranje mehanizma uspostave elektroničke ovjere atributa u državama članicama koje će osigurati priključivanje istih u europski digitalni identitet, to jest u elektronički novčanik ili wallet. Hoće li takvi ovjereni elektronički atributi zamijeniti vjerodajnice i u kojem slučaju ostavljeno je svakoj državi da to sama regulira. Treba napomenuti da je potrebno omogućiti korištenje i usluga povjerenja s elektroničkim novčanikom, te provedbeni akti za uspostavu europskog digitalnog identiteta će biti objavljeni 6 mjeseci od dana stupanja ovih izmjena na snagu, a nacionalno tijelo koje će ga izdavati će morati biti certificirano. U tu svrhu uredba utvrđuje konkretne digitalne ciljeve za koje se očekuje da će Unija kao cjelina postići do kraja desetljeća, kao što je prvi put navedeno u komunikaciji o digitalnom kompasu. Zatim postavlja novi oblik upravljanja s državama članicama kroz mehanizam suradnje između komisije i država članica kako bi se osiguralo da Unija zajednički postigne svoje ambicije. Dostavljeni prijedlog je zapravo pravni izričaj koji donosi u suštini promjenu za europske izdavatelje elektroničkog identiteta nudeći im novu, ali i komplementarnu sa starim zajedničku arhitekturu i infrastrukturu i referentni normativni okvir te zajedničke standarde koji bi bili razvijeni u suradnji sa zemljama članicama. Hrvatska načelno podupire ovu uredbu. U međuvremenu od pisanja okvirnog stajališta dogodilo se prvo čitanje je uspješno završeno 7. prosinca 2021. Istog je dana novo predsjedništvo francusko zatražilo od delegacija od Telekom dostavu pisanih komentara i prijedloga nacrta na cijeli prijedlog. U siječnju 2022. na temelju pisanih podnesaka zaprimljenih od izaslanstava francusko predsjedništvo sastavilo je nacrt novog kompromisnog prijedloga čiji je bio cilj preusmjeriti opseg i domet teksta, istovremeno poboljšavajući njegovu čitljivost i pojednostavljajući predložene postupke. Za raspravu su predloženi neki aspekti pojačane suradnje između komisije i država članica. U veljači 2022. drugi kompromisni prijedlog predsjedništva koji se odnosio na učestalost izvješćivanja o putu u digitalno desetljeće te se reflektira u svojim odredbama i na ovu uredbu. Treći kompromisni prijedlog 31. ožujka, pri čemu je francusko predsjedništvo tražilo veću usklađenost s prijedlogom revizije EIDAS-a, uvelo je spominjanje temeljnih prava i prenijelo povezivanje na Europsku deklaraciju o digitalnim pravima i načelima iz operativnog dijela u uvodnoj izjavi kako bi se izbjegle sumnje u njezinu neobvezujuću prirodu. Francusko predsjedanje 10.6. zamolilo država članica da dostave komentare na cjelokupni drugi kompromisni prijedlog teksta EIDAS-a do 17. lipnja. Krajem lipnja održan je bilateralni sastanak sa predsjedanjem češkim što se tiče EIDAS-a i najavili su sljedeće, znači pripremit će dokument za raspravu u srpnju, a koji će se dotaknuti određenih političkih pitanja te će ponuditi rješenja, to jest opcije država članica kako bi iznijela svoje preferencije. Nakon toga će pripremiti novi kompromisni prijedlog na temelju pisanih komentara koje sad pripremamo i rasprave koje će se dogoditi u srpnju i nastavit će se u cilju usvajanja općeg pristupa u prosincu. Tu moram naglasiti znači da se kod ovog voleta, odnosno digitalnog novčanika, vodi dosta intenzivna rasprava na stručnoj razini, gdje naši kolege isto tako sudjeluju aktivno i teško mi je reći kompletna stajališta zato što se vrlo često i vrlo dinamično događaju rasprave i imamo dosta značajnih izmjena koje se događaju vrlo dinamično. Ono što bi moglo biti interesantno, znači sama ideja tog digitalnog voleta je da građanin Europske unije sa sobom ima nekoliko osnovnih dokumenata u digitalnom obliku kojima se može i identificirati i da su oni vjerodostojni na cijelom području Europske unije. To je nekakva suština, znači, tog digitalnog voleta, ali naravno to je nešto što je nama, rekao bi, u fokusu jer nam je prepoznatljivo, ali ima i drugih tema o kojima se tu još tijekom ove uredbe na stručnoj razini raspravlja, ali nisu vezane samo za digitalni volet.
Hvala gospodine državnom tajniku, otvaram raspravu. Ako nema nitko, ja imam par pitanja. Znači, mogli smo čuti u javnom diskursu jednu skepsu građana prema e-idu, odnosno da je to alat koji će služiti za kontrolu građana i slično. Pa bih vas molio nekoliko razjašnjenja. Znači, što je točno europski digitalni identitet, koje je jamstvo zaštite podataka u slučaju, znači, skepse koje građani imaju, hoće li njegovo korištenje biti dobrovoljno i ako će biti dobrovoljno, koje su prednosti? I što je sa sustavom certificiranja, jer se taj isti sustav razlikuje od države do države. Mi imamo jedan, ne znam, Mađarska ima drugi, Francuska ima treći i tako dalje.
Evo ovako, dakle, elektronički identitet je nešto što Europska unija želi da koriste svi građani. Naravno, nije nametnuto kao obaveza svih korištenja, to je isto kao i trenutno ono što imamo, dakle, svi građani Republike Hrvatske dobivaju i mogu dobiti elektroničku osobnu iskaznicu, ali da li žele koristiti ili ne žele, to je njihovo pravo u tom elektroničkom dijelu. Usluge su napravljene, odnosno tako formirane da se taj elektronički identitet ima visoki stupanj sigurnosti, što se jamči i samim procesom certifikacije tog identiteta elektroničkog koje mi danas imamo. Mi danas na elektroničkoj osobnoj iskaznici imamo identifikacijski i potpisni certifikat koji se dobiva upravo kroz certificirani proces koji jamči da iza tog certifikata uistinu stoji fizički ona osoba koja je taj certifikat, odnosno ta iskaznica dodijeljena. I to su procesi koji su definirani EIDAS uredbom po pitanju certificiranosti i na osnovu tog certifikata, odnosno tog procesa certificiranja, ta elektronička osobna iskaznica vrijedi, odnosno identitet te elektroničke osobne iskaznice i tog identiteta vrijedi na području cijele Europske unije.
Hvala lijepo gospodinu državnom tajniku. Ako nema više zahtjeva za riječ, zaključujem raspravu i predlažem odboru sljedeće zaključke. Pod 1. Prihvaća se stajalište Republike Hrvatske u prijedlogu uredbe Europskog parlamenta i Vijeća o izmjeni uredbe u pogledu uspostavljanja europskog okvira za digitalni identitet. I pod 2. Obavezuje se Vlada Republike Hrvatske da do donošenja prijedloga uredbe obavješćuje Hrvatski sabor o značajnim izmjenama sadržaja prijedloga uredbe te o izmjenama stajališta Republike Hrvatske u prijedlogu uredbe. Tko je za ovakav zaključak? Hvala lijepo. Konstatiram sa deponiranim glasovima da smo jednoglasno sa 9 glasova za usvojili predloženi zaključak. Hvala vam lijepo. Predlažemo na 4. točku, to je razno. Imam samo 2 informacije za članove. Naime, kao što znate, naša delegacija u sastavu kolega Davor Ivo Stier i moja malenkost, kako smo dogovorili na zadnjem sastanku, sudjelovat će na sastanku predsjednika Kozaka u Pragu 10. i 11. srpnja ove godine. I isto tako najavio bih da ukoliko ne bude nepredviđenih situacija, ovo nam je zadnja sjednica odbora prije ljetne stanke, Pa evo, ako bude zadnja, želim vam ugodno ljeto, odmorite se i vratite se u jesen spremni za nove radne pobjede. Hvala vam lijepo, zatvaram sjednicu.